Welcome to my channel. Oh, of course you should have known. Why on earth should I have known? I've always trusted you always. But I was living with Jason. He was my friend, one of our best friends. He had just lost his spouse. Why should I have suspected you were being intimate with him? I wasn't being intimate with him. I was comforting him by engaging in sexual relations with him. He needed someone to look after him. He needed solace. He needed physical intimacy to assist with his emotional recovery. Then hold his hand, embrace him. Don't be intimate with him, not when you're married to me. He was shattered. He is your best friend. My heart was aching for him, so you were. Intimate with him? I was comforting him. Don't portray it as vulgar. It is vulgar. I can't believe you. I can't believe you just leave. Get out of this cursed house. I won't leave. I can't discuss what occurred if I'm not here with you. You've already explained everything. Now I have to decide what to do about it. So gather your belongings and leave this house, or God help me, I'll throw you out myself. Patrick, you're overreacting. There's nothing here worth being distressed about. A dear friend was in need. All I did was assist him during a difficult period by being intimate with him. Stop saying that he was suffering. I did everything possible to alleviate it by being intimate with him. Stop it. Stop it. I did something kind, and you're trying to belittle it. Get out. I'm going out to get some food, and when I return in an hour, you better be gone. She didn't depart. I walked into our home through the garage, and she was sitting at the kitchen table. Have you satisfied your absurd ego enough? Are you prepared to discuss this like a mature adult? I glared at her furiously and walked past, heading upstairs to our bedroom. I noticed that she hadn't made any effort to pack any bags or even collect her belongings. Fine, if she's not leaving, then I will. I won't remain in the same house with her a minute longer than necessary. I pulled down 3 suitcases from the attic and began stuffing clothes into them. I tried to be swift, though not meticulous, so I was nearly done when Marlon approached me. What are you doing? Patrick, addressing me by my full name. She's been sleeping with our friend for 3 weeks, and I'm the one behaving improperly. Incredible. What's unclear? Since you refuse to leave, I will. Please don't leave. We need to tackle this together. I ignored her, stuffing the last pieces of clothing that would fit. I went to the master bathroom and quickly collected my toiletries. Patrick, please, you're being absurd. Stop acting like a spoiled child. No one stole your toys. No, I growled. You gave that damn fool much more than my damn toys. I love you, Patty, you know that, but I don't belong to you. Jason needed someone to share his sorrow with, and I was there. He's our friend. This doesn't signify anything for us, for our marriage. He will never be my friend again, and it means everything. It's the end of our marriage. I zipped up the last suitcase. I grabbed 2 suitcases and placed them in the trunk of my car. Marlon followed me down the stairs, talking the entire time. Patty, please, stop this foolishness. I see your pride is hurt, but it really was nothing. I was merely aiding a friend. He's one of your best friends. He was. Now he's as dead to me as his late wife. Sarah, that stopped her for a moment. I had known Jason since we were 12, when his family moved next door to ours. He was my old friend and one of the 3 guys I usually relied on in any situation, but this betrayal ended everything. Please slow down, Patty. Talk to me. Let me explain. She followed me into the office. I was packing up my desk, and she leaned against hers on the opposite wall. You've already made everything clear. There's nothing more to explain. He was sad. You slept with him. I'm leaving you. Please, Patty, don't leave. Stay here. We always talked everything through. We're planning to expand our family. We have so much ahead of us. There's no need for this drama. Everything will be fine, you'll see. You love me, and I love you. My feelings for you haven't changed at all. I closed my backpack and looked her straight in the eyes, but my feelings for you have changed. Goodbye, Marlon. My lawyer will be in touch. She gasped as I walked out. A flood of calls and texts started as soon as I drove away from the house. I erased everything from Marlon without reading or listening. I went to the gym to burn off some of the restless energy. It helped, but not enough. After showering and clearing my phone of Marlon's latest messages, I checked into a motel near work. I wasn't concerned about unwelcome visitors, however. My phone kept buzzing, so a couple of hours later, I finally blocked Marlon's number. My relief was short-lived. The calls from my parents and my sister began. Those conversations were brief. What's going on, Patty? Marlon called and said you left her. Did she tell you why? No, just that you were upset. You know every marriage has its rough patches, Patty. You need to stick together and work through them. She was intimate with Jason for 3 weeks. What? She was intimate with Jason for 3 weeks to help him overcome his grief. But that doesn't make any sense. Are you sure? She told me herself. Oh, you must have misunderstood. That can't be, it must be a misunderstanding. You need to work things out with her, she's your wife. Goodbye, Mom. I had almost the same conversation with Carly. Apparently Marlon's infidelity was my problem, not hers, at least according to my family. I must have missed the part of the Florence Nightingale story where she was intimate with all her patients to restore their health. I bought a sandwich and salad and ate them in my motel room while watching a game. I couldn't tell you anything about the food or the game. At some point, my phone rang. It was Jason. Go to hell, jerk. Don't ever speak to me again. I ended the call before he could say a word. Then I blocked his number too. The next day wasn't much better. Marlon started using friends' phones, so I just began blocking those numbers as she used them. I deleted voicemails as soon as I heard they were from her or from friends calling on her behalf. Her messages showed her growing frustration. Talk to me, Patty. Please come home and talk to me. We need to have 2 conversations, darling. Call me. I'm worried about you. Nothing special. Just talk to me. Call me. Stop this nonsense and come home. Damn it, Patty. Call me. The time between messages and calls lengthened, so either she was finding it harder to get phones, or she realized I wasn't going to answer. I watched the game and couldn't remember what I ate, or if I ate at all. I remember going outside to get some fresh air, but it was cloudy with occasional rain, so I didn't stay out long. Monday arrived right on schedule, and I got to work. I review insurance claims. It's not very exciting, but it has to be done, and my reviews say I'm pretty good at it, plus it pays well enough. First thing, I met with my boss and told him that Marlon and I had separated, so I'd need some time during the day to sort things out. He said that was fine, but he expected me to stay late to finish my work. That was fine with me. What else did I have to do? Marlon called 10 minutes after I sat down at my desk. I recognized the number, but I had to answer phone calls as part of my job, and I knew she was relentless when it came to using the phone. What do you want, Marlon? Thank God, Patty, please come home. I love you and miss you so much. We need to talk. No, we don't. You already said everything I needed to hear on this matter. You just don't understand it didn't mean anything. I really do understand, and that's it. You made your position very clear, and I think I was just as clear about mine, so let's just move on. Oh, thank you, darling. I'm so glad to hear that from you. What time will you be home tonight? I have everything to make lasagna. Could you buy a nice bottle of wine on your way home? I'm not coming home, Marlon. When I say move on, I mean divorce. Infidelity is a deal breaker for me. No, you can't divorce me. I love you, and I know you love me. Come home so we can talk, please. I heard her crying. There's nothing to talk about, Marlon. It's as simple as that. We have opposite views on a central issue in our marriage, and now I need to get back to work. You know how our boss feels about personal calls at work. Don't hang up, we need to talk. If you hang up, I'll call right back, and I'll keep calling until you agree to meet with me to sort this out. Damn, she had leverage here, so I agreed. I wouldn't go home, but we would meet at Julia's at 6:30. Thank you, Patty, thank you. I love you. See you there. I simply hung up. The rest of the workday was dreadful. I went to the bank and separated our joint accounts. I called our credit card companies but couldn't close the accounts until they were paid off. However, I did request lower credit limits. I called our HR department and changed the beneficiaries on my insurance policy and $401,000 account. We'd have to deal with the house later. It was mine before the marriage, but Marlon had contributed significantly to the mortgage payments. Thank God we didn't have kids to worry about. I was careful to leave work in enough time to be at Julia's by the appointed time. When I parked, I saw Marlon's car. Good. I don't believe in nonsense about seizing the high ground and controlling the battlefield unless you're in an actual fight. In these matters, you say what you mean and let the chips fall where they may. I found her easily enough and sat down across from her without greeting. Marlon smiled at me, but without much confidence. "Hi, darling. I'm glad you decided to come. I want to put all this behind us so you can come home." I just stared at her. Her smile faded a bit, but she kept going. "I'm sorry you're hurt, but it really was nothing. I don't love Jason. He needed me, and I was there for him, as a friend, like a friend who slept with you for 3 weeks. Please stop, Patty. This really isn't helping our situation. Obviously, I'm the first guy in history to be cheated on by a more pathetic man. Do you know how that makes me feel?" She sighed. "You're not pathetic. I love you, only you. I miss you. I need you. Please come back home." "You slept with Jason for 3 weeks. Maybe you should ask him to come back home." "I don't love Jason, but you slept with him for 3 weeks." She clenched her teeth tightly, and her eyes bulged from the tension. "Please just stop, Patty. I can see you're really hurt. I thought you loved me and loved Jason enough to understand that it was just kindness. There was no passion, no love. I was comforting him, that's all." "You slept with him. Damn it, Patty. Is that all you're going to say? I'm trying to explain what happened, and you're just being stubborn. It meant nothing." "Then why did you do it, Marlene, if it meant nothing?" This brought her to her feet. "Darling, I know you feel that it was wrong. I'm not being defensive. I see the pain in your eyes. I hurt you, and I'm so sorry. I was just showing compassion. I thought you would understand, but we can put this behind us. We can go back to how things were. Just give me a chance, and I'll prove it to you. I'll do everything to make amends." "It's too late. There are things you can't take back." Marlene tried to grab my hand, but I pulled away. Her frustration showed in a sharp intake of breath. "Talk to me, Patty. Please tell me what I can do. Please, we need to fix this. Sign the papers when you're served." She didn't sign the papers. Instead, she filed a countersuit contesting everything in my petition and adding a request for relationship counseling. I resisted, but the judge ruled in favor of counseling, so late Tuesday evening, I found myself sitting next to Marlene in front of Joanna Dillow, MFD. "What would you like to achieve during your time here, Patrick?" "I want to do whatever will speed up the divorce." "HM, so you're not interested in saving your marriage?" "I don't have a marriage." She broke the terms, making them void. "Now we just need to make it official." Marlene was already crying. "I just want this nightmare to end. I want Patty to come back home where he belongs. I want my husband back in our house, back in our bed. I miss him so much. As I understand it, the issue is that you were intimate with your friend for 3 weeks while he was grieving the loss of his wife. Is that correct?" "Yes. Patty and I attended the funeral, and I took some additional time off to assist Jason around the house. Patty had to leave because he had to go to work. Jason was so lost, so desolate. I started by just holding him while he wept, but soon enough he began clinging to me, then kissing me, then touching me. A couple of days later we were intimate, but it was just sex. I don't love him and never did. It was just kindness toward a good friend who was suffering deeply." "And you didn't discuss this with Patrick?" "I did, as soon as I got back from St. Louis. I told him what happened." "And what reaction did you expect from him?" "I thought he would understand. Jason has been Patty's friend since they were kids. He saw how sad Jason was at the funeral. I thought Patty would understand that I was just helping Jason cope with his grief." Marlene sobbed and wiped her nose. "It was just sex, it didn't mean anything." "It seems Patrick sees it differently. Would you like to elaborate on your feelings, Patrick?" "Intimacy is supposed to be the one thing that's just between us and belongs only to us. It's how we know we're completely devoted to each other. But I told you, I don't love anyone else. From the day we met, my heart has always belonged only to you." "Prove it." "What do you mean, prove it? You know it's true. You know it." "How do I know you love me? I tell you every day. Words are easy, actions show the truth. I do 100 things for you with love every day." "Like what?" "I cook you dinner. I kiss you all the time. I listen to what you say. I make love to you. You cook dinner for our friends and family. You kiss your parents and my parents. You listen to everything your sister says, and you are intimate with Jason. So, tell me, what do you do just for me? Don't be ridiculous. It's different with you. Is it? How do I know that? Our fidelity was the one thing that was just for us, meant only for each other, and you threw it away for Jason. Now, there's nothing that belongs only to us. That's not true. We have our love. I don't love Jason. I don't love anyone the way I love you, but you can't prove that to me. And the way you just casually dismissed our promises to each other shows that, in my heart, I can't trust you. So, we're done. No, stop saying that. You don't understand. I think we've gone as far as we can together for now, Joanna said gently but firmly. I would like to spend the rest of today's session alone with Patrick. Can you come back at 4 on Thursday, Marlene? That's our next session, and we will have an hour to work together then. Marlene left, sobbing. I felt very uncomfortable being alone with the therapist. Is there any way you can reconsider the divorce? No, that's quite definite. So, no mitigating circumstances? If she had been drugged, that would be a completely different story. I would have given her everything and then killed the bastard who did it. One drunken mistake, I don't know if I could forgive that. But at least there might be a way back. But this? She consciously decided to be intimate with Jason for 3 weeks, spending nights in his bed as if she were his wife. It's such a massive betrayal that I will never get over it. Do you think there's a difference between having sex and making love? Of course. So, she could have just been having sex with Jason. She could still be making love only with you. How can you tell the difference? I don't know. Can you tell the difference? I can't. I know my own feelings, but I can't discern yours or anyone else's, except by what I observe. I paused. Do you know how to determine how important commitments are to someone? Tell me. It all hinges on what they're willing to forsake to uphold them. Monogamy is genuinely tough. Having one partner for 50 or 60 years, forsaking all others, is challenging. There's boredom, misunderstandings, illnesses, moods, conflicts, and all sorts of other factors that can tempt you. So, when you choose to forsake intimacy with everyone else in the world, you're demonstrating how dedicated you are to your partner. I think that's how you gauge if someone loves you the way a partner should. They're willing to make substantial sacrifices day after day to prove their love for you. When she chose to be with Jason, Marlene demonstrated to me that she wasn't willing to make that kind of sacrifice, and there's nothing she could forsake that would compensate for that. If I stayed married to her, I would have to guard myself every day against that kind of betrayal, and that's not the type of marriage I desire. So, there's no chance. Not a single one. Do you believe that people can err, that one action doesn't define a person? Yes, but a mistake is a one-time slip, not a repeated action. There's no way back from this. Then, I need to prepare Marlene for the divorce. There's no reason to delay if you're not open to reconciliation. That was an unexpected surprise. So I don't need to be here on Thursday. No, you don't. She's devastated, and your presence would just exacerbate the pain. I understand your sentiments and recognize how firm they are, but if you change your mind, I'd be glad to assist you again, either alone or with Marlene. Thank you, but I won't change my mind. I didn't change my mind. Marlene was heartbroken every time I saw her. I stopped attending meetings with our lawyers because she would begin crying as soon as she saw me. I didn't enjoy seeing her suffer, but I was in pain too. Rage engulfed me for the first few weeks, but I also felt numb. When I got my own small apartment and established a new routine, coming home felt so draining that I stayed at work as late as possible. My work had never been so productive, and my colleagues were frustrated that my thorough documentation made them appear inferior. I truly missed Marlene. Her absence was a constant intuitive presence, and I grew accustomed to the ache in my heart. I lay in bed, pondering if I had made the correct decision. I missed her because I truly loved her so much. She was kind, generous, and intelligent, and she always made me laugh. She was playful and genuine in bed, but she made the decision to be intimate with my best friend, and I just knew I could never fully trust her to safeguard my heart again. She didn't love me, at least not in the way I needed. Call me insecure, call me stubborn, but marriage should be a sanctuary. It should relieve stress, not amplify it. Knowing that she was with Jason, fully aware of it, caused me immense stress. The year following our divorce was tough for me. Marlene may have been inconsolable, but I felt crushed too. I hardly went out, despite the efforts of friends and colleagues. I barely saw my family. They were so hesitant to criticize Marlene's actions that I could only tolerate them in small doses, and I'm not sure they didn't see Marlene more often than they saw me. So I mostly stayed in my apartment, watched sports, and visited adult websites when the tension became too overwhelming to manage without release. I got a different kind of release when Jason tracked me down, presumably to apologize. He was waiting for me when I got home late from work, so there was no one else around. "Hey buddy, I want to clear things up." That was all he managed to say before my fist connected with his ear. We were about the same height and neither of us had much experience in fighting, but I had rage on my side. I overwhelmed him in that fight. He left town with 2 black eyes, a broken nose, a swollen jaw, and several bruises all over his body. I might have kneed him in the groin, but it wasn't a clean hit. After that, I made a couple of discreet trips to St. Louis. Jason always loved cars. He was unlucky that his M3 was completely trashed while he was at a bar watching football on a Monday night. All the windows and mirrors were smashed. The paint was deeply scratched from front to back. The body was heavily dented, the tires were slashed, and the interior was spray painted bright red. His insurance covered most of the damage, and he used the payout to buy a used Porsche. Unfortunately for him, about 4 months later, someone smashed the driver's side window and threw a Molotov cocktail inside. When the car alarm went off, it became very expensive for him to get insured again. No one came looking for me, but even if they did, my credit card receipts showed I was at bars near my apartment. As for revenge, it probably wasn't enough. It was a modest satisfaction, but prison didn't appeal to me. In the end, Jason had to live with being the jerk he was. I didn't see Marlene after the divorce, and I didn't let anyone tell me about her. She hurt me deeply. Nevertheless, I hope she found someone to share her life with. We had a lot in common, but it turned out there was a huge chasm in how we thought about marriage. When I started dating again, I expected to be let down, so I didn't risk my heart at all. I disappointed more than a few women. I finally realized that I was destined to be alone if I didn't muster the courage to trust someone again. So I decided to be upfront and share my experience with Marlene and my expectations for any future relationship. I also needed to get back in shape, so I joined a mountain biking club on the weekends. My first day with them happened to be the first day for PR show as well. She was tall and slender with long, thick black hair. We lagged behind the rest of the group, so we spent most of the ride together, talking whenever we caught our breath. She was lively and quick-witted, and I laughed a lot. When we were loading our bikes at the end of the ride, I was moving slowly, and she seemed to be lingering as well. "I know this is last minute," I said, my heart beating too fast, "but if you're free tonight, would you like to go out for dinner?" Her smile was dazzling. "Yes, I'd like that. What did you have in mind?" "Something casual. What's your favorite food?" "Italian." "Doesn't everyone love it good?" "I love it too." We exchanged contact information and went home to get ready. I picked her up at 6, and we had a very pleasant, low-key evening. I received a warm hug and a quick kiss, which was even more than I expected, so I drove home a happy man. After that, we started seeing each other regularly. I was open about my breakup with Marlene. I learned that she had twice been in relationships that fell apart due to infidelity, so we were both a bit cautious. We didn't become physically intimate for 4 months. We lay intertwined in her bed, her firm breasts pressed against my chest. We were naked and partially shaded by each other's caresses. When she reached for me, I pulled back and kissed her, then looked into her shining dark eyes. "If we're going to take this step, I need to be the only one for you, and you will be the only one for me." Prisha smiled and kissed me in response. Exclusive. I like how that sounds. She was an active lover, passionate and loud. We moved in together after another 4 months. Prisha was warm, generous, and down to earth. I was straightforward and honest. She was organized but flexible enough, and I had a good sense of direction. We were very compatible, yet different enough to keep things interesting. In addition to biking and Italian food, we both loved action movies. However, I didn't understand her passion for quilting, and my fascination with curling baffled her too. We both watched Dancing with the Stars, but I rooted for the athletes while she preferred the actresses. I worked hard to be clear about what I thought at every step. Prisha reciprocated. We never had any blow-ups. Disagreements were resolved long before they became issues. We became so close because we could trust each other completely. No secrets meant no barriers, and trust thrived. Sometimes I found myself regretting that I hadn't communicated better when I was married to Marlene. One of my lingering regrets. Marlene may have doomed our marriage, but it was my fault too. I simply assumed we shared the same expectations about monogamy. She probably thought otherwise. We caught each other off guard, and I wonder if we could have avoided all that unpleasantness if we had talked about it beforehand. But we didn't, so we hurt each other, and both of us will have to live with that. This experience, I believe, made me a much better partner for Prisha. It ultimately led us to the altar and to a completely fulfilling marriage. Our son, Sadar, we call him Sid, was born 3 years after we married, and almost 2 years later, our daughter Fi followed. An Indian-Irish mix isn't common, so we're quite unique, and rule number 1 is that nothing can be more important than fidelity. Thank you for listening until the end. See you in the next episode of Cheating Stories. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. Goodbye.